Many of the NBA's biggest and brightest stars never competed at the collegiate level. Kevin Garnett, Kobe Bryant, Tracy McGrady, Dwight Howard, and LeBron James are among the 47 players who forfeited their college eligibility between 1995 and 2005 to enter the pro ranks. Since the 2005 collective bargaining agreement, both the NBA and Players Union agreed to implement an age limit of 19, also known as the one-and-done rule. A player must be 1 year removed from high school before entering his name into the draft. But why? After speaking with several former NBA players, coaches, and executives, we would discuss the rule's effect on the quality of play and examine whether or not the age rule is fair or foul.
With the 5th pick in the 1995 NBA draft, the Minnesota Timberwolves select Kevin Garnett from Farragut Academy in Chicago.
In 1995, the basketball world embarked on a new era of round ball prodigies who possessed the ability to compete at the highest level at an early age. Prior to Garnett's arrival, the norm was for players to remain in college for at least 3 years. Even Michael Jordan attended the University of North Carolina for 3 years before relocating to the Windy City. But this local Chicago product, Kevin Garnett, would be the first to take the leap, and many of his contemporaries were not surprised by his smooth transition.
Like Kevin knew about the NBA, he knew about the past greats, he knew about how hard it worked, and I think the thing that was amazing to myself and my teammates was just how mature he was. So I'm not saying all guys are like that. Obviously Kevin was a rare person, but he was ready both mentally and physically.
Since Garnett entered the league, 46 players soon followed his lead. But prior to the big ticket's arrival, the transition from amateur to pro status was never viewed as an easy process.
It's pretty difficult, yeah. Becoming, a man so early, competing against grown men, as the best player on the floor in high school, and becoming facing the best players in the world, and transition from, living on your own, having to deal with the traveling, the different climaxes, getting in cities 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, waking up next morning for shoot rounds and practices. It was a culture shock.
82 games versus 30 per se in the NBA. Then everything else that had to go along with it. You're managing your finances, you're managing your body, you're managing your diet. So much that you have to go with just being a pro is just not all on the court. There's a lot of it off the court.
I think if kids want to come out of high school and go to the NBA, we should let them go.
What tends to be lost in the age limit debate is the importance of education and maturity, something then Raptors exec Isaiah Thomas considered in the evaluation process of Kevin Garnett.
I was only going to let him play home games, have him play 41 home games, enroll him in college here.
What went into your thought process when you came up with this plan?
Well, like I said, I was in Toronto, and that would have been the first time. There was 2 international franchises started. One was in Vancouver, and the other one was in Toronto. And bringing him across the border into Canada, I just thought that culturally that would have been a big shock and a big difference for him.
The NBA currently rests on the shoulders of the likes of LeBron James and Kobe Bryant, 2 of the league's most popular players, and also guys that never set foot on a college campus. In 2005, there was an age limit put in place during the collective bargaining agreement that was met with mixed reactions.
First of all, I disagree with the rule. I think if you have a rule, and whatever the definition of this rule was, whatever the league or the NCAA was trying to accomplish, I don't think you accomplish. 1 year doesn't do a lot for a guy. Confidence doesn't do a lot for his physically being mature, and especially off the court.
In terms of basketball, no matter what your age is, if you're capable of playing, this is America. And if your talent warrants that you can get paid for it and get paid for it at a very young age, you should be allowed to do that. We didn't tell Bill Gates he couldn't start Microsoft when he dropped out of college. We didn't tell Mark Zuckerberg that he couldn't start Facebook when he dropped out of college. And I don't think we should be able to tell these young players that they can't come into the NBA when they decide to.
Kevin, I was part of that 1999 collective bargaining agreement when we kind of implemented this and we talked about, these kids going to school for a year. And I was one of the people that was behind it, that thought it was a good idea. Ask a year, let these kids get a year stronger physically and mentally.
One may be surprised by one player who's in favor of the age rule that benefited from KG's jump in 1995.
I actually think they should implement having these guys go to school for 2 more years.
Okay.
What is it, 1 year now?
1 year.
So at least go to school for 2 years, because our league is so young. I think we need to build our league up. I mean, I hate to say it, the talent in this league is pretty down.
For now, the age rule will be in play for the foreseeable future. But there are some, like this New York labor lawyer, who feels that the rule is blatant age discrimination. While this may be true, a deal is a deal.
There's no age limit on tennis players. There's no age limit on golfers. You know, you're good enough to be on the tour, you're good enough to be on the tour. And so from that standpoint, I would think a legal challenge would be an interesting case. What you have seen happen, though, in the history of legal arguments is that courts have very consistently said, since these agreements are negotiated between the league and the union agrees to these things in collective bargaining, that they are legal and that you can't go against that.
Tonight, millions of Americans will tune into the NBA Finals and watch a great battle between Kobe Bryant and Dwight Howard. Besides immense talent, these gentlemen share another characteristic. They went straight to the NBA from high school. Unfortunately, today's players won't have that same opportunity.
There have been discussions on the age rule actually being raised to 20, but prior to that question being answered, many want to know why the rule was ever implemented.
I think a lot of the one and done talk had a lot to do around the triple max contracts, more so than the care and the concern about the players and their also education. With the players coming in so young out of high school, like a Garnett, like a Kobe, you know, those guys are on their 3rd max contract. And I think that affected the collective bargaining agreement a lot. So they wanted to raise the age limit, not for the health and the education of the players, but I think it was to avoid the triple max contracts.
Scouting wasn't nearly as good, and then you had the fact that your #1 pick, the face of an organization, proved to be not worthy necessarily of being a 1 pick, and I think it started with Kwame Brown. I think, but if you look at subsequently and how many young men have come out and gone to school early, and how many of them have succeeded, I think overwhelmingly it's to the positive.
You know, Kevin Garnett scared owners to death when he got that $126 million deal.
The buzzword or buzz term now around the league is Garnett money.
Because they knew that a guy like Garnett's going to get at least 2 or 3 more big deals, which is exactly what happened with him. So,
according to CelebrityNetWorth.com, Garnett is the highest earning player in NBA history, with Bryant coming in at 3rd. It's no coincidence that these were the first 2 stars in the high school era, and explains the owner's financial concerns. What concerns fans of the game is its quality of play. During the high school era, there were 11 drafts held. 47 players entered the draft directly from high school, an average of 4 per draft, with 3 high schoolers being selected #1 overall, Kwame Brown, LeBron James, and Dwight Howard. 14 players were selected in the top 10, and 8 went undrafted. In the post-high school era, there were 7 drafts held between 2006 and 2012. A whopping 58 players entered the draft after 1 year of college, an average of 8 per draft. 5 players were selected #1 overall, Greg Oden, Derrick Rose, John Wall, Kyrie Irving, and Anthony Davis. 24 were selected in the top 10, and 10 players went undrafted. With the rule in play, it seems as if more players go to college with the intent of staying on campus for just 1 year. So has the quality of play been affected?
No, I think the quality of play has definitely improved and increased. If you look at the way our game is now and the type of athlete that's coming to our game, the type of excitement that LeBron James has brought, the Durants have brought, the Kobe's, the McGrady's, the Garnett's, so forth and so on. They've brought, you know, excitement to our league and, you know, have resurrected some franchises that were, you know, pretty dormant.
What has changed is you don't have the same level of continuity. You go back to when I played, you know, one of the reasons why people liked our teams is because we played together for 3 or 4 years. And so there's no doubt about it that your team can be far better when you have that kind of continuity and chemistry and trust that you can build over the course of years. as opposed to when you have kids now that go 1 year and then they leave. That's the opposite effect of what was intended when they put the rule in place.
You wind up with very young players in a lot of cases who need coaching, who need to get stronger physically, they need to get stronger mentally. They have not learned how to play against their peers, their physical peers, is what I mean. So they get thrown in a situation where they maybe have been physically dominant to a situation where they're not at all dominant. In fact, they're deficient, and it hurts their development.
Some may argue that there has been a drop in on-court production from the high school era to the one-and-done era, but statistics show that it's quite the opposite. Viewing the true shooting stats in basketball, scoring, field goal percentage, three-point percentage, and free throw percentage, the league average slowly dropped in the high school era, peaking in the 95-96 season when KG was drafted, while it's steadily growing in the one-and-done era. Whether you credit that 1 year of college or not, there is a fundamental difference in the two types of players.
Having a basic grasp of the fundamentals of basketball, and then the skill set. And then the main thing, Kevin, like I just talked about earlier, how to work. It's work, and then there's working smart, and it's working efficient. How to work. These guys don't have a clue of how hard you have to work to be an NBA basketball player.
I think in Jermaine O'Neal's case, it was all about the culture, the organization, and the situation for him. He got a chance to come to Portland, learn from Rasheed Wallace, learn from Brian Grant, learn from Arvydas Sabonis, and then all the other veterans that he had around him. But I think it would have been definitely a different transition for him if you had to throw him right to the fire when you're 17 years old. Well, there have been some great cases where guys have succeeded, but there's also been some cases where there's been some failures.
I also believe that you owe a little bit to the college game to invest in it, give it 2 years.
While the debate continues as to whether a player benefits from attending college versus leaping to the pros, one may ask who the rule benefits most between the NBA and the NCAA.
Well, definitely the pro ranks, I believe, because it definitely makes the pro game better. And when you look at a lot of the one-and-done players, they've been wildly successful in our league. I think the one thing I love about the NBA is they pay the players. The guys come in and they get paid. The one thing about college that I don't like, they don't pay the players, so they get free labor.
I don't know that it necessarily helps either, because what happens for a collegiate program is you get a guy for a year and it could boost your program, but not everybody's Kentucky, where you're going to get the pick of the litter every year. Most schools are going to get that opportunity once, and it can either make or break your program.
It helps the college game more. I think you've got a chance to have some of these superstars for 1 year. The Anthony Davis. I know if you'd had a LeBron James for 1 year. So I would think if you weigh in versus the NBA versus the college, I think for our stars it helps college. I think guys middle of the road, I think it definitely helps the NBA for more guys to be mature that's not a superstar at a superstar level.
I don't think it helps either one, Kevin. I just think it's a personal preference. I don't think it helps college. I don't necessarily think it helps the NBA, because a lot of times these kids, you take them based on what you think they could be 2 or 3 years from now.
Big job by Rosario to play the lane, and Noel hit his left knee on the back.
This past collegiate season, many projected Kentucky center Nerlens Noel to be the #1 overall pick in the June draft. Unfortunately, Noel suffered the worst injury possible, tearing his ACL in a game versus Florida. While the injury could have happened at any level, if not for the rule, Noel would have possibly been in uniform for one of the league's 30 teams and financially secure in the wake of an injury. As a result, the rule and the players' liberties have been questioned.
I think it should be wiped out. I don't think there should be a one and done. I think what needs to happen in college is that with the NC2A, they need to seriously get serious about educating the athletes and figure out some way that they can participate in the financial rewards that the college institutions are getting.
I think it's a bunch of crap. Yeah. And I personally think that I don't want to say that there's something here from an ethnicity or racial standpoint, but it strikes me as odd that you look at all the other major sports with the exception of football, and this has never really been an issue. Baseball players get drafted #1 right out of high school. They've been doing that for years. It's a non-issue. But because of the NBA, it's viewed differently, and I do have an issue with that.
Whether you are in favor of the rule or not, the extra year of amateur basketball helps the talent evaluating process.
It allows them to at least see the college player in an environment that's closer to what an NBA environment would be. At least they're playing against guys who are a little older in some cases, or they're playing against guys who are just as talented in some cases. So you get a better look at them, and they get at least that year of college coaching where a coach can be demanding of them and try to push them.
Ultimately, the league and current players made career decisions for players who had yet to enter college. But should it be their decision to make?
It's up to the parents and the kid to decide if they think they're good enough. And then it's up to the people evaluating these kids. And if somebody's ready to take a chance and draft a kid first round, then again, let them go, man. Because again, that's on that team to determine if this kid is ready to play.
From 1995 to 2005, we all wondered who the next basketball prodigy would be. Who would fit the bill of the next KG or the next Kobe? But the 2005 CBA delayed those dreams by 1 year. Some dream of the rule being overturned while others push for a raise to age 20. But there are theories on how the next CBA will play out.
I think there'll be some talk about it, but the next CBA is a long ways off, and the world of sports, the world of television, the world of entertainment will change dramatically in the next 5 years.
I know the league's always been pushing for 20. They've been doing that for the last 2 or 3 collective bargaining sessions. The union has resisted. I think that this is a line in the sand for the union. I don't see the union signing off on any other additions to the age limit. I think it's going to be 19 or 18 plus a year for a while.
Depending on who you ask, the rule has both enhanced and hindered the NBA product. While many may not agree with the rule, some have an understanding of it. Currently, the league is being handed off from the likes of Kobe and Garnett to LeBron and Durant. So either way you slice things, the future of the league should be in good hands. While the league is getting younger, careers will last longer, and the development process will be forced to adjust.
More veterans able to play longer because they know the game just a little bit more. I take my hats off all those guys because I think guys are taking care of their body more. But you're seeing guards play into their 40s. You're seeing guys play 17, 18 years, and not only are they on the teams, they're making an impact, and a lot of them are starting.
Teams are going to have to put an emphasis on player development. You're going to have someone not only on the basketball side, but also in their personal life skill side. I think teams are going to have like personal life skill classes and teach these kids and make them aware of the pitfalls and downturns of being a professional athlete at such a young age.
Research has proven that the overall quality of play has improved since the age rule was implemented. There will continue to be instant impact players like Kyrie Irving, whose career at Duke was shorter than the registration line. But there's also players like Damian Lillard, who played 4 years collegiately and will be prepared to take the league by storm. Ultimately, if one puts in the work and produces on the court, their talent will be evaluated and their career will blossom. Age rule or not, the cream will always rise to the top. Just ask Kevin Garnett.
Anything's possible. Anything's possible!